And in England, there's a three-tier system. More than 8 million people in the North West, the Midlands and South Yorkshire are already living under the toughest restrictions, and now Nottinghamshire will join from Friday. Well, Dan Johnson is in Rushcliffe this morning. Dan.
Yes, earlier this week, people in the outer boroughs of Nottinghamshire County, particularly to the north, were told that they would stay in Tier 2, while Nottingham City itself and the boroughs closest to the city centre would go into Tier 3 from this morning. Well, that hasn't happened. There was a change of decision yesterday, which means that the whole county will go into Tier 3. In fact, it's been called Tier 3 Plus because it's tighter than anywhere else in the country. That will now come into effect from tomorrow. So what do people in the north of Nottinghamshire think? I went to the pub in Worktop last night.
They thought they'd avoided tougher measures here, but a change of mind now means a change of rules. And the Queen's Head will have to close. The right move, says the man in charge.
I'm happier that we're in Tier 3 than we are in Tier 2. Reasons for that is in Tier 2, you know, it's same household, same bubble. It is hard to police. You can't, if two people walk in and say, well, we live together, I can't challenge that.
Tier 3 restrictions were delayed for 24 hours, but will now include the entire county, after concern about rising case numbers amongst older people and pressure on hospitals.
I think just lock it all down, or everything. And I don't think it will till next year.
To be honest with you, I think tier 3 is the right move, because at the minute everyone's at pubs, and when they're at pubs, I know there's the bit where you can only be in groups of 6, but when you're at pub and everyone's had a drink, no one really sticks to it. There's a lot of people that are not in a group of 6. At the start, yeah, you start in a group of 6, but end it, you're in a group of 26, you know what I mean? You're all mingling, you're all doing what you're doing. Really, the best thing is to lock full everything down, and that's what should have happened months ago, to be honest with you. I think we should have stayed on lockdown for a bit longer.
In my eyes, it is devastating, do you know what I mean? But not only is it happening here, it's happening all up and down the country, do you know what I mean? You thought the government would look after places like this, because, in all honesty, it's places like this, like I said, that make a community and make the economy.
Nottinghamshire stands alone so far in banning alcohol sales after 9 p.m. in shops. But here, there's still a sense of unfairness about which businesses are hit.
What's the difference of coming into a pub and having a pint than going into a pub, having a meal and a pint? There's no logic to it. I do understand why they're doing it, but at the same time, it's upsetting.
It isn't just pub shutting. Nottinghamshire has its own closure list, branded Tier 3 Plus by some. Nottingham itself saw the highest case numbers in the country, and now the whole county will feel the force of the tightest restrictions.
And what we saw there last night might explain to some degree why the extra restrictions are needed, because even the landlord at that pub was saying he was struggling to enforce the rules to keep people socially distanced and to work out which households were together and were allowed to sit close to each other. And there were people in that pub who admitted they'd come over the border from South Yorkshire, a Tier 3 area, to have a drink in a Tier 2 area. So that's perhaps one reason why tighter restrictions are needed. But the more I move around, the more places I see, the more people I meet, you do see people who are stretching and bending the rules. So that's why Tier 3 restrictions in the toughest form will now apply across Nottinghamshire from tomorrow morning. And just to take you through that list of exactly what the measures for this county will be, because they are unique in some ways, there'll be closure of betting shops, car boots and auction houses. Indoor entertainment and tourism venues must close, but that doesn't include ice skating rinks, concert halls or theatres. Saunas and steam will be closed, along with personal care businesses like tattoo parlours, tanning salons, nail bars and piercing salons. There'll also be a ban on sharing smoking equipment. That's essentially handing around a shisha pipe. That will stop, and there'll be no alcohol sales from the shops after 9 p.m. That's something that's happening in Nottinghamshire, which hasn't happened in the other Tier 3 areas. These are measures that were called for by the county council officials who work just across the river here, but they're not necessarily supported by all the political leaders. And earlier this morning, I spoke to the leader of Ashfield District Council, who isn't entirely satisfied with the measures that are being imposed now.
I'm not a medical expert, so you have to go with the science, but some of it seems a little bit arbitrary to me. I have no idea why you can go to the theatre, you can go to the cinema, but you can't get your nails done or have a tattoo. To me, some of those places are the cleanest and most sanitised we've got, and I think if the government don't put a real set of financial packages in, a lot of those businesses are going to go to the wall.
You think that financial support isn't there?
It's a tiny proportion. So
you have had money, haven't you?
We're going to get about $1 and a bit million to give to businesses. That's not for the councils, that's for businesses. And when the first pandemic hit, we got 22 million to give to businesses. So it's a drop in the ocean. The government talk about levelling up the North and the Midlands. They actually need to put their money where their mouth is.
There are high case numbers right across this county, even though in the city the numbers have dipped after being at the top of the national table a couple of weeks ago. So I think acceptance that things do need to be brought back under control in Nottinghamshire. But although the county may now be unified in the measures it is going to face, there isn't necessarily unity right across the political leadership here, as you just heard.
Dan, thank you very much. Dan Johnson there in Rushcliffe in Nottinghamshire.